We acknowledge the people on whose land we live, the Atfaliti Kalapuyans, also known as the Tualatin Band of Kalapuyans, the first inhabitants of Washington County. We are grateful for the land we're on, Kalapuyan land. Signers of the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 were removed from their homelands to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. Today, their descendants are tribal members of Grand Ronde and Siletz tribes, carrying on the traditions and culture of their ancestors. We acknowledge and express gratitude for the ancestors of this place and recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their lives, and their continuation in our community. I'd like to invite all of us to reflect on the role government has played in the painful colonial history and reflect as well on the resilience and healing of the Indigenous lands and communities. We invite everyone to collaborate and work together with the tribe to take care of the land and water and the people who inhabit these spaces. And we're going to learn tonight a little bit about Clean Water Services taking care of the land and the water. So, okay. Well, we have a full agenda tonight, and I will go ahead and start introducing some of our community partners, our service agencies that will give us a brief update about what's going on. Let's go ahead and start with Nicole. It sounds like she has something that she wanted to do and get away and finish celebrating Valentine's Day. So thank you for joining us, Nicole.
Thank you, Virginia. Thank you for having me. I'm Nicole Paulson, Park Planner with Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. I am the liaison here for CPO1. I'm happy to put my information, when I'm done speaking, I'll put my information in the chat. So if you have any questions later on or after this meeting, feel free to email me or contact me and I'll get back to you. I wanted to tell you a few things that are happening within the district. First big item, spring registration is coming up. I believe it's not this Saturday, but next Saturday, the 25th for in-district residents, and then opens Monday, February 27th for out-of-district residents. In addition to the Park District as a whole, we have a lot of volunteer and job opportunities. So there's lifeguarding opportunities. We're calling for volunteers for coaches. We're also looking at different volunteers. One in particular, March 11th, is restoring the natural areas of the Bluffs Park. And if you want more information, you're more than welcome to go to our website. I'll put our website in the chat as well. Coaches for volunteers, if you're interested in basketball or volleyball coaching our youth, please, again, go to our website and take a look at that. Our aquatics is continuing to open up more and more. And right now we're looking at opening more available times for swim. So there are new open swim times that you can find online at the Aquatic Center, Aloha Swim Center, Conestoga, and Harmon. And feel free to check those schedules out. We've got programming of free winter fitness in the park. There is also a park schedule or schedule that's available online. Those are free classes. They're in the park and they began January 9th and they'll run through March 18th. So a little bit more time to take advantage of that. And as we look at different projects within CPO1, the Beaverton Creek Trail, a portion of that trail, which is almost pretty far south in the CPO boundary, that trail runs from the Tualatin Hills Nature Park all the way over to Southwest Hawken Road. And we did receive additional $2 million in funding for the Beaverton Creek Trail project, and it will help cover the final engineering and permitting and construction for that particular trail. It will be a 1.5 mile off-street system, and it'll again go from West Side Trail at the Tualatin Hills Nature Park to Southwest Hawken Avenue. And Also, this particular project, Ridgewood Dog Run, is the boundaries in CPO1 are very tricky. While the site is within the city of Beaverton, the surrounding area and community is that of members of CPO1. So we'd like to bring that information to you that we are working with submitting the design of the Ridgewood Dog Run, design and permitting for that particular project. We are planning for that to open up in the spring. If you're not familiar with that location, it's right near Ridgewood Elementary School. And it's kind of at the crux of the 217 Highway 26 interchange. And those are the updates that I have for Tualatin Hills Park and Rec. If there are any questions, Virginia, do we ask now or is that in the chat?
Yeah, sure. I have a question actually about the dog run. Will it be just bark chips or is there actually going to be some grass that's done?
It will be it will be bark chips. So and the bark chips help with the site not getting so muddy.
Right. Okay. Anybody else have a question? You can always use the raise your hand function and I will see that. No? Okay. I've been working with Holly to get more information that we can publish in Cedar Mill News because everybody wants to know more about parks. So, but I have to go through Holly.
Yeah, and there similarly is a park also within. Again, it's very similar in the respect that it is a city of Beaverton owned property, but it is largely around CPO1, and that is off of Southwest Pointer Road. And that's a 2-acre neighborhood park that will also be going in. What's that?
CPO7 isn't meeting these days. And so we're also interested in stuff up in Bethany because they don't have anywhere to go. But, and I know there's some stuff going on up there, but I try to cover all that stuff in Cedar Mill News. So I know there was planning for a new park up there too.
We are planning for a new park. We actually just held a neighborhood meeting for Northwest Evelyn and Eleanor project.
Right.
Yeah, we held a neighborhood meeting for that last Thursday. Our survey is still open for types of play equipment that you might be interested in or other comments. Virginia, there also is going to be a dog run in that location as well.
Great.
Yeah, and so I'm happy to post the survey of the particular site if that might be of importance for your.
Please do.
Okay. Yeah, I will. Before I pop off, I will
go ahead and post your contact information and a link to that survey. That would be great.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to go moving right along.
Sounds great. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming and welcome to CPO1.
Thanks.
We took off in January, but we usually meet every month.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'll be here.
Great. Patty, are you ready to go ahead and talk to us about what's going on in the sheriff's office?
Sure. Hi, I'm Patty Shalaski. I work with the Washington County Sheriff's Office in Community Outreach. And we have a few things coming up on March 2nd. We have another hiring workshop that will be at our training center. And we also have openings coming up for applications for our search and rescue cadets. So those are teenagers between 14 and 17 can apply for that. And those are due by April. And we also have our reserve deputies open until April as well. And all of those, I will put a link in the chat to our most recent newsletter, and all of the information about all of those is in that. And I see I have Sergeant Jan on, and I will just share the calls for service map really quick. And if you guys have any questions, whoops. Oh, just a sec, here we go.
So while she's doing that, the call for service map is a monthly map that lists all of the calls that have been received in the CPO1 area by topic, I guess you'd call it.
Right. So this time I noticed a lot of fraud calls, so I took some time today to go and look through all of those. And for the most part, they were things like credit card, bank account. There was a dating app fraud, a couple of phone scams where people gave gift cards to someone calling. So we always say gift cards are for gifts, never give anyone a gift card. A couple of ID thefts and a malware where someone clicked on it. So most of those frauds were, you know, not at the house, but that's where the person lives. So a lot of credit cards and bank account frauds were the biggest thing that I saw on there. Do you have any questions for myself or for Sergeant Jan? I noticed is on here. If you have any questions for him about law enforcement, feel free.
Okay.
So that's kind of what you can see.
How are we doing in terms of stolen vehicles? It seems like I'm seeing them all the time in next door.
There have been some stolen vehicles. I also noticed, I looked at some of the thefts, and a lot of the ones at houses were packages, mail. Those were some of the bigger things that I saw, but there have been some cars as well. Maybe. And these, remember, are calls for service, so not necessarily all, you know, actual crimes.
Yeah, and you helped me know that bank robbery wasn't really an actual bank robbery. It was just more of a kind
right.
Of
so that was a recent call. That was a fraud. So they were trying to fraud the bank, but it wasn't actually a robbery per se.
Yeah. We seem to get a
When I
lot of
looked up that one. So if you have a concern like that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to look into it and give you more information as much as I can.
Okay.
No other questions for myself or Sergeant Young?
Apparently not.
Okay, I will put that information in the chat and feel free to reach out anytime. I'll put my contact as well.
Great. Okay. Andrea, are you ready to tell us about Tualatin Valley Water?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. We did launch a new billing system in July. We've been promising that for quite a while. It is a pretty risky project for utilities, so we feel really successful that we were able to do that with our billing partner, Clean Water Services. The basic features that we promised at the launch are online and working. You can look up your account, you can pay your bill, you can now have some advanced do-it-yourself kind of features where you can request your own extended payment arrangement if you are struggling to pay your bill. So we just want to, come back around, let people know that was phase one. We recently went on to the current version. We didn't do any updates or anything with the software until we're to this phase of stabilization. So last weekend we had a little outage to do that upgrade, which will provide some of the fixes for some of the little quirky things that have been identified. And then our next phase will involve restarting some of the other features, things like reminder notices if you're just haven't paid on time. And so we know there's probably some pent up demand there where people have fallen behind and they haven't been receiving those type of notices. So we just want to come around, let people know that we're starting with that. It's not intended to result in people having their services disconnected. We as a utility do not want to get there with any of our customers. We have assistance programming. We have extended payment options. And if you just can't pay, call us and let us know. As long as you're communicating with us and making the effort that you can in your household, we're not going to shut you off. So we just want to make sure we get that out in advance because this does get people upset, and we know that. And we also know that after COVID, not everyone in our community has rebounded in the same way. And we still may have people who need assistance. We've upped the amount of assistance you can get for your water bill if you are struggling. So please reach out and make that application with Community Action. We haven't had anybody even apply for a couple months. And we know that's mostly because we haven't been sending the reminders and urgents. So it's kind of easy for people to just to sort of let the balance build. But those balances have gotten large for both utilities, and we are going to make an effort to reach out and work with our customers between now and July 1st, when the new fiscal years start. If we don't collect those monies, then we have to take it as an expense. So that's what's happening there. And we just remind people, when it's cold weather, make sure you protect your pipes. We have a lot of videos and help available. And then really soon here, we'll be talking about getting your irrigation system up and running efficiently, conserving water for summer. And those are our next messages, but I'm going to turn it over. I know you have a good presentation tonight, and I'll put my contact information if anybody has any questions.
Okay, great. I saw Nathan's question, and I have an email newsletter from the sheriff's office. At least I think I do. I'm pretty sure that if you go to that main page, you will be able to find it.
Yes, you can. I put a link to our newsletter in the chat, as well as I just put a link to this directly to the search and rescue page. So both of those are in the chat.
Okay. Well, let's see. I don't believe that we have any more representatives from service districts. So we have quite a bit of CPO1 business to deal with. Let me get back to my agenda. One of the things that we can look at is there is a proposal to change the zoning on a lot on McDaniel. And I'm going to put this stuff into the chat here. And oh, that's not what I want. No. I had a map up and I think I lost it, but it's right across from Bonnie Slope Elementary. And it's been zoned neighborhood commercial since they started doing zoning. And there were a couple of different proposals for it. There was the first time it was proposed to be a mixed use dwelling and small commercial. And then it was going to be a preschool. And all of those things fell through, as far as I know. And now the current property owner, and it's changed hands a number of times in that intervening time. The current property owner is involved with the adjacent development, housing development, and wants to just make it an extension of that housing development. I mean, different people, McDaniel Village, thank you, Melissa. People have different feelings about it, but if you're interested in going to the plan, it's going to come up in front of the Planning Commission. And I'm not 100% clear whether the Planning Commission is going to approve it or recommend approval to the board, which is what I assume. I'm not sure if it's going to have, I'm sure it's going to have to wend its way through various departments. If Melissa wants to, if you know more about this and want to jump in really briefly, that would be wonderful. It's up to you. But the Planning Commission is going to be tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. And there's the link and a link to testify. I think I can go to that page and bring up the staff report and show you where it is. There we are. I had all that logged up, ready to go. Where is it? Nope, that's not it. I'm sorry, I'm floundering. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh. Well, anyway, you know where it is. It's right across from Bonnie Slope Elementary. And if you, there we go. That's the one. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Thanks, Melissa. Okay, so there it is. They're proposing that it be changed to R9, I believe. That's an old one, R10. So it's right there. It's right near where McDaniel turns into 119th. I get confused. 119th, I think. 113th, 111th, whatever. And so I'm going to go ahead and there it is. So they want it to change from neighborhood commercial to R9. So you can learn more if you want to go to that link. And if you feel strongly one way or another, you are very welcome to go and 119, thank you, to go and sign up. One of the links that I gave you was how to sign up to testify. And so you need to do that if you want to testify at the meeting tomorrow evening at 6:30. But you need to sign up beforehand. So that's that. Any questions about that? Somebody's got their hand up. Melissa, yes.
Oh, sorry. I put the actual form to testify. You have to complete it 2 hours before the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the one thing to keep in mind is the development at this time is not proposing access onto McDaniel.
Right.
119th McDaniel, sorry, McDaniel at all. So
right. It's going to be down through that neighborhood. Yep.
I would tell you more, but I live here and I am testifying.
No, I wasn't going to say that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you've got 2 hats to wear there at least.
Only one tomorrow. I'm going as a citizen, not as a community member, not as a.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think people, people still have the idea that it's nice to have a little neighborhood store, but there have been some that don't ever get used. And I think most of the people in this area, at least, they get in their cars to shop, unfortunately. And there were some people who really liked the idea of a daycare there. It would have been convenient, but there's a lot more to it than just what the neighbors want. The financing and the bank loans and all of that have to go through. And we don't know all of that. And they're pretty sure they can sell the houses. So that's about all I know. Any other questions? Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is one of the attendees here tonight, Pete. I'm going to promote you to panelist, Pete, if you want to tell us about, you let us know about something that is definitely a concern for everybody. And I appreciate it. And I got your message to Melissa and she gave you some advice. So I'll let you tell the story.
Oh, okay. I think for the group, this is more of an FYI, really. So long story short, I am a very, very big walker. I'm approximately 30 miles a week. I actually do walk to the grocery store, but I live in Cedar Hills, right off of Butner. And my mother lives in Cedar Mill, off of between 119th and Saltzman. And so I go back and forth quite a bit to my mother's house to help her when needed. And I typically walk. It's about a 35-minute walk. And most times I go down Cedar Hills, but I was really excited when I found out Lifetime Fitness was going in. More so, honestly, for the sidewalk, not as much for the fitness part, or at least the club. That doesn't mean I might not be interested in the future, but I recently walked down Barnes to check it out. And I was really surprised when I got to the entrance of the new Lifetime Fitness and found that the new sidewalk stopped right there. And then it picks up as you continue west. So you're looking at an image now that's on the south side of Barnes, going west. And then so from that point, right where I took that photo to the Providence Health Center, that's where the sidewalk picks up. So it's literally like you can see the other sidewalk. And it's a bummer.
See Senor up on this end.
Yeah,
over here.
exactly. See Seniors right over there. And so I contacted first the city of Beaverton, and they said, yes, you know, we made a requirement for Lifetime to do it up to that point. And then said, Washington County has this. And so I contacted them and they said, yes, you know, we're going to have growth pay for it. And my only, and, or you could put it on the, maybe you could help me out. I don't know the name of the urban sidewalk.
Yeah, it's the Urban Road Maintenance District Advisory Committee, URMDAC, we call it.
Yes.
And they keep a list of projects that are not being paid for by development, that they have a discretionary fund that they can spend. Now there's absolutely no guarantees because there's about 100 projects for everyone that get funded. But Melissa kindly put it on the list for you. And
yeah, they did put on the list, and probably, I mean, so I'm happy about that. I am a little concerned in that, you know, it took Lifetime, that chunk of land took what, 2 decades or more to get developed. So it'll be curious to see if I'm still walking 30 miles a week in 20 years. And it's a fairly significant chunk that's missing, in that people can't walk to what's going to be, you know, an expanded Peter Court Center. They can't walk to the Sunset Transit Center safely from Cedar Mill. I can't safely walk to the shopping area of Market of Choice and Tumwater Middle School if I have a job there, or any of the other Cedar Mill places. So I reached out to CPO one, just say, hey, FYI, this is where it's at. And if there's anyone or any person that could help support this through any of their contacts, I'd really appreciate it.
definitely. Melissa, your hand's up. Did you want to say something more about this?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to correct an error that was mentioned. The Bike and Pedestrian Program is not a discretionary fund at all. It is funded by tax levies within the Urban Road Maintenance District, which CPO 1 is a member of. Aside from putting the project on the list, there is no other way to really influence until the online open house and comment period begins for the next round of funding, which is expected to be in May or June. And within that time, it will be up to 2 years before the project could potentially be built, potentially longer. And in that time, it is also possible that development will be occurring at that location, in which case development would be required to put in sidewalks at that time. So if ERMD does, in fact, put sidewalks in the short term, the sidewalks would no doubt have to be replaced when the new development went in. So we would be using ERMD dollars for a very short-term sidewalk prior to development actually coming in. So be aware of that. That's all. Thank you.
I don't know who, I know that the Chobin family did own the property. George Chobin died a while ago, not too long ago. So I have no idea whether they still own all that property or what. We don't get to be privy to that kind of stuff. I can try to dig it up, but I would, given the way things develop around here, I would not be too surprised to see somebody try to do something with that front lot there, but I don't know nothing. So thank you very much for bringing it to our attention. That is an important bit of sidewalk to include. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's see. All right. There will be a Board of Commissioners Town Hall on the Thursday, February 23rd. And I'm going to paste some stuff in here. I know they'd love to have me publicize it. Apparently, we're going to have a serious budget shortfall. And as I mentioned to the CPO, OEICE staff, the word budget makes me run in the opposite direction, but they're calling it a budget town hall. So if you want to find out what's going on with the county budget and hear from the commissioners about what they're going to try to do about it, this is the information. 6 p.m. Thursday, February 23rd. They are going to be in person at the main auditorium down in Hillsborough, but they're also going to be online. So if you, pardon me, want to watch the presentation online and participate, you can do that. And I just pasted all of that into the chat. And yeah, thanks for that link, Melissa. You can see if you go to that link back to the previous topic of how to get stuff onto the road maintenance proposal list. That link is there. And then there's the Washington County Transit Study. Which is talking about mass transit, buses, trains, etc. That's that. And our survey, and I know a lot of people did the survey based on the email I sent out today and based on the CPO notice that went out. We're having dueling chat messages here. But Cedar Mill, CPO 1 sent out a survey. There we go. I'm going to share my screen again. We sent out a survey about whether we want to go back to in-person meetings or hybrid meetings. And so far we've had 23 responses. Basically, we have 43 people saying they would be interested, or 43% of people saying they'd be interested in hybrid meetings, 34% saying they wouldn't, and 21% maybe. So if you want to go take the survey, you can, and I believe that once you take the survey, you can look at the responses. I haven't done a lot of survey work, so I don't know, but I think you can. I typed the link to the form in the chat. Oh yes, and there's the Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan survey. The county has lots of surveys for you to take, so go share your opinion. Or you can share it here. All right, I think that's just about it. And my goodness, look at that. We're absolutely on time. It's 7:35 and we can start our very interesting program that we're going to have with Clean Water Services. So Daniel and Sadie, go ahead and turn on your cameras. I will stop mine. And we have a big wetland. There's a big wetland down on Barnes, south of Timberland. But we have another big wetland in Cedar Mill, and that's the one on Saltzman Road. And my recollection is that it was created when Bower Woods Estates was built, I think, a long time ago. It's called the Bower Oaks Natural Area, but I think that it began to be created even well before that, because it was pretty much there when I moved in, and I moved in '95. But anyway, it was created as a mitigation project. I don't know how much wetland was there beforehand, but hopefully we're going to find out. So why am I talking? Daniel, will you introduce yourself and introduce Sadie and let us know what you know?
Absolutely. So everybody can hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and drive, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. See what we got here. And let's see here. I want to make sure. All right. That's as big as it gets. There it goes.
That's great.
Perfect. Perfect.
Looks good to me.
All right. Perfect. Well, Virginia, thank you for having us. I appreciate extending an invite for us to come out and be able to present to you all. My name is Daniel Ridditor. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Clean Water Services. I'll be co-presenting with Sadie Boyers, Water Resource Specialist at Clean Water Services. And ideally today, hopefully we'll be able to provide a broad overview of Clean Water Services, who we are, what we do. That'll be my role. And then Sadie will present the value of wetlands in order to have a healthy watershed. So that's the gist of our presentation. We'll just kind of jump right in, if you all don't mind. And again, I'm going to be doing two things here. So, boom, there we go. So first and foremost, I'd like to talk a little bit about the organization, how we're, what our mission is, and everything we do is about protecting public health and enhancing the environment of the Tualatin River watershed. That's our mission. As we use multiple, methods to do that. As a water resource recovery agency, our primary role or focus is always to protect health. And we have more than 600,000 residents and businesses in urban Washington County that we serve. You can see in these photos, lots has happened since 1958. We've celebrated 50 years in 2020, and really celebrated the advancements that you've seen, from the beginning of when, where, as you could see there, when you could straddle the Tualatin River. On the left, there's the gentleman with the hat, the overalls, and the coat. That's someone you probably recognize his name. His name is Henry Haig. He was a dairy farmer and a member of the Washington County Irrigation District for more than 30 years. And at the time, he was a visionary because he was instrumental in having the irrigation district help move forward the idea of the federal government to build Haig Lake, which is a man-made reservoir created from the construction of Scoggins Dam near Gaston. So as you can see there, going to the right, in the 50s and 60s, the river was polluted and choked to the point where, like I said earlier, you could straddle the river there on the left. So in 1970, voters approved the formation of the United Sewage Agency, which was USA, and the predecessor to what Clean Water Services is today. And so that really that was prompted because they wanted to consolidate 26 wastewater treatment facilities across the district that were just inefficient. They weren't working, so they consolidated them in this format in the USA. And then shortly thereafter, a vote followed in 1969, where there was a moratorium set for Washington County, where they stopped all development in suburbia because of the pollution that was in the Tualatin River. So moving forward, we Clean Water Services own about 25% of the stored water in the watershed or in the basin. We were one of the first investors in the construction of the Scoggins Dam, which has allowed us to have a very good relationship with the federal government, through the years. So that's something that we pride ourselves in partnerships, and that's one of our large ones. In the summer, you'll see a little bit later, but 70% of the flow that you see in the Tualatin River is coming from either Hag Lake or from our treatment facilities. And that allows our community to enjoy the river, as you see on the right, and a healthy river, more importantly. So this slide is try to talk a little bit about the formation, what Clean Water Services is and what it isn't. As we talked a little bit earlier, it was created by voters in 1970. And that has that established a very strong relationship with Washington County, as exhibited by our chair. We share the board chair or supervisor, and then Clean Water Services Board chair is Catherine Harrington. And we share the elected body, so the county supervisors are our board. But we are distinctly different when it comes to management as well as financially. So those are two different entities. We just share the board. So that's the makeup of the organization. I always like to look at this as Clean Water Services has 4 lines of business that we work in. So we're in wastewater resource management. That's our utility, and that does the resource recovery and treatment of sewage and stormwater. But we also have another side of the house, which is it's another utility, which is stormwater and recovering and cooling off and treating stormwater, because that's also a part of our utility. So the other lines of business that we work in involve water security and planning. And what that means is really just making sure that our infrastructure is safe. And starting with Scoggins Dam, that's something that we've been working with the federal government for a few years now, because in 2012, Scoggins Dam was identified as the most seismically threatened infrastructure in the dam district or in the dam system. So we've been working with them closely to prioritize that dam, because it needs to be a priority. It is our sole source of or our primary water source for Washington County. So it's got to be a priority, and Clean Water Services has been at the table for a while. The other line of business that's important is river flow management, and that's what I was telling you about, the 70% of water that goes into the river. We release water in the summer to comply with discharge permits, as well as treatment plants, making sure that they are working at high capacity, because they're central to that. They are they're the heartbeat, if you will. And just to give you a little bit of what happens as we transition from winter to from spring to summer. In 2022, you might have all remembered, we had a never-ending spring, and it rained. It's what seemed like forever. And that, believe it or not, is great for us, because it allowed us to prolong putting water back into the river. So it was July 1 before we even put any flow back into the river. And that gave us 128 days of adding water to the river. Whereas in 2019, we released water for 190 days, because it was not as quite as wet. So that's kind of helps you understand how we use the effluent. And one of the things I wanted to leave you guys today is, outside of the four core business lines of business, we do not manage flooding incidents. other than if it impacts our MS4 permit requirements. Washington County is responsible for the flooding incidents on the day-to-day. So that's something that's always important, because it's just to add a little clarity on roles. So I just wanted to make sure I shared that with you all today. I love this map because we get caught up in clean water services, as many government organizations, because we start talking about the watershed, the district. Well, this map is great because it shows what is the watershed. And the Tualatin River watershed, it's comprised of 12 partner cities within the district. And the great thing about this district is that the majority of it falls under Washington County, which is one single political unit. And through the years, that has been an asset, because you're able to pass good policy. You're able to collaborate much better than if you were in two jurisdictions. So that's something that we see that as a positive. And it's done great things for the district, as you've seen through those pictures. Some of the things that have happened through the years, and there is some sections, but very small, that fall outside of Washington County. And the collaboration's been great because ultimately we all serve one river. Talking about the river, a few stats or just content, I guess, on the river itself. The Tualatin River basin has 712 square miles. The river itself is 80 miles long, and it begins in the coastal range, and it feeds into the Willamette River in West Lynn. And I'm not sure if anybody knew, but there are no other resources for water that go into the river outside of rain. There are no snowpacks that melt into the river. So the river itself is a sensitive river, and it's a small one, as I've seen through some of those pictures. But Clean Water Services provides a very high level of treatment, higher than 95% of facilities across the U.S. So that's something we pride ourselves in, and we use. We have a full-fledged lab that we conduct science as Clean Water Services to help us obtain this healthy watershed. And as I keep saying it because it's important, but 70% of the flow that you see during the summer is coming from our treatment plants or Hague Lake. So it's important for us to continuously have good infrastructure to be able to meet those flows. So in comparison to when I say a small river, I'll use Portland as an example. The city of Portland has one enormous treatment plant, and they call it, I believe it's called the Columbia Boulevard Wastewater Treatment Facility. They discharge directly from the plant into the Columbia River. The ratio of dilution from the Columbia River to the Tualatin is quite a bit. So when we look at that, they only have to do secondary treatment to their inflow, whereas we have to do something that's called advanced tertiary treatment, which is essentially a wastewater treatment plant with almost drinking water quality. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an understanding of how much we have to treat our water compared to other agencies. So in 2020, we celebrated 50 years, and we put together a video to celebrate our accomplishments. But what I really, this video that I'm going to play, it's only like 3 minutes, and we have time because we've kind of mapped out our time. So here we go. There's the last 3 CEOs for Clean Water Services on this video, and they're able to cover, the last 50 years. So it's great perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go here.
I'm not hearing any audio. I don't know if it has it.
Can you hear now?
It's a little quiet.
Is that better?
No, not really, but it's okay. It's pretty pictures anyway. I wonder if that audio thing at the end could get bumped.
Switch to phone, leave computer, audio. I got the setting here. Let's see here. Trying to figure out.
Gordon told him we needed to. Great, how are you gonna pay for it?
Okay.
This organization, nationally known.
Maybe we can drop the link for this video in the
Yeah.
chat and folks can watch it after.
That's what I was just gonna say that, because if it's you
good idea.
can't hear it.
Not really.
Okay, that's fine. I'll put the video in once we're done with the presentation. I'll just throw it in there. You could see it. So I'll just continue. Perfect.
That's great. Thank you.
So the video itself talks about accomplishments throughout the 50 years since the USA was formed, but doesn't say that we're done, right? We still have challenges ahead. We have things that we work on every day to either get better or to meet new regulatory requirements. Those are the things that challenge us daily. We have increased regulatory requirements from the state, the federal government, DEQ, US EPA. Those are examples of the entities that manage our work. And it's particularly a challenge because of the size of the river, the complexity of the slow and relatively flat river that receives our flows. So those are things that challenge us from the requirement standpoint. And we heard it in the presentation earlier. We're very fortunate to live in this area because of the economic development that's happening. There's a lot of growth. That being so great also causes challenges for us at Clean Water Services because 90% of the development of our infrastructure is done by new development. So new development, they develop it or they construct it by basically adhering to our requirements, but they ultimately put it in the ground. And when they're done with it, they basically entitle it over or dedicate the infrastructure. And that's how sanitary and stormwater systems are built. So that's something that's a challenge for us. But we also have aging infrastructure. We have pipes in the ground that go back to the early 70s, some potentially older, and those need to be replaced. So for example, some of you on this call might have heard of this project, the Tualatin Interceptor project. Came in 2019. It was a very large line that connected Sherwood, King City, and Tualatin to our Durham facility. It was a big line that actually had to go underneath the river in two different points. And we had to do that while not breaking service. So those are the types of projects that we're used to. Our engineers are constantly looking and evaluating at these types of projects, whether they if it's a 40 foot manhole or doing gravity. So they're constantly looking at these types of projects. And an engineer at one point had told us that that project, the Tualatin Interceptor project, was like trying to replace the I-5 freeway while the cars were still on it, And if you think about that, it's kind of like, yeah, kind of scratches your head a little bit. But those are some of the challenges that we're facing. And you know, we're eager at the to get those things mended. So when Virginia and I went back and forth and ultimately met on the coldest day of the year at the wetland, we were talking about what would be valuable to talk about the watershed, and wetlands was definitely one. Overview was one, and she had mentioned the Watershed Navigator as a resource, which is a website that was created in partnership to provide people, our community, who live and play in the watershed, resources. And this is and I'll put this link as well. So just because it also has audio. So I want to make sure that you guys are able to play with it. But this includes tools for your home, yard, your community, accessing parks or the river itself. It also has programs within here that are all partnerships to teach you. There's educational components, add value on why you should have, get rid of invasive plants and then put, habitat that's from here. So that this is the basically a tool for education, but it's and Sadie also probably could, if you have any questions on on this, she could actually answer a little bit more in depth. And the Watershed Navigator, like many programs across CWS, was created through partnership. It was a partnership through Soil and Water Conservation District, a relationship we've had for many, many years, and we've been working very well together. And this came together, again, just from being in rooms together and understanding our community. They work together to develop what is the funding going to look like? What's the content going to look like? Well, let's develop it together. What's this site going to look like? And sharing the ongoing maintenance. And currently, both parties are looking at, they're evaluating potential of a full-time employee to run the program, not just the website, but the full program of the Watershed Navigator. And so those are the things that we do very well. Partnership's very important. So being here at CPO 1 is important for us, and we're excited to be able to continue to present as things come up. Projects are going to continuously come up for us to present to you. But for now, I'm done for mine, and Sadie is now going to go ahead and talk to you about wetlands and how they play a role in a healthy watershed. So Sadie, I'm going to go ahead.
There's a question in the chat about prioritized seismic upgrades at Hag Lake.
Do we want to take these at the end?
I'm sorry, I was muted. I think now is good. Go ahead.
Okay, let me look at it because I haven't read it. That's ongoing. We've been working with them. They have a priority list, and we're on it. We just haven't got to we just don't have a timeline. Oh my.
Who's they?
They being the federal government. And the,
okay. Oh, them.
Yeah. So right. So we've been talking to them consistently since 2012. And that's something that, we've had multiple discussions about. Scoggins, does it go up? Does it, oh, there was like feedback. So there's been different project ideas on what we do with Scoggins, and that's why there isn't really a timeline yet, because we haven't landed on something. Hopefully that helps. And if that, once that gets on and we have more information and that becomes something, we'll be back.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Sadie, let's see here.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to start off by kind of centering us on some of the wetlands that are in your CPO or in Washington County. So a couple that I just kind of quickly Googled are the Cedar Mill wetlands and then Beaverton Creek wetlands. And the Beaverton Creek wetlands are right around the project that is going to be expanded that Nicole Paulson brought up at the beginning of the meeting. And so I was able to visit those two places on Monday, and they were really amazing little like pieces of nature within, with surrounded by kind of human development homes, pretty like quick moving streets. So at the Beaverton Creek wetlands, I saw a bunch of birds, ducks, geese, flicker, and a couple of hummingbirds. I saw some like really nice evergreen rushes, and the water was like really slow and calm and slow moving. And then the Cedar Mill wetland, I feel like the sounds of the birds almost like overshadowed the sounds of cars and like human sounds, which was pretty cool. I got to be in this like beautiful space where I feel like there were maybe a few more birds than humans. So that felt really special, just being in this like around all of these condos and homes, but also having this like sweet slice of nature there. You can see all of the willows, their little buds are starting to come out. The Oregon grape is about to flower. And the beaver at Cedar Mill Wetlands is working really hard and also working to slow down and clean the water. And then I feel like two pretty like legendary wetlands in the area. Fern Hill Wetlands is Clean Water Services water treatment facility that I'll talk about a little bit more later once we go through kind of more about what wetlands are and how they operate. And then the Tualatin River National Wildlife Refuge is pretty amazing. It's a very cool flyway zone for migratory birds. The plant life is very lovely out there. And it's a really lovely like winter nest or winter kind of like resting spot for waterfowl and different ducks and geese and swans. So if you haven't been there, I highly recommend that spot as well. And the photo on this slide to the right, it was taken at Fern Hill Wetlands, just so you know. Daniel, could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so what are wetlands? How does Clean Water Services take care of them, and why? And how do wetlands take care of us? So wetlands are this like cool connection point between bodies of water, moving or kind of stagnant like rivers, lakes, streams, and dry land. So they're this interesting like transitional area where water is really slowed down and where water is cleaned. And wetlands can be wet year round, or they can be wet kind of during our wet season, during our rainy season, and dry, seasonally dry during our warmer summer time. So a wetland doesn't have to be a wetland, or a wetland can be a wetland even if it's not wet year round. Wetlands are home to thousands of plant and animals, like red-winged blackbirds, beavers, and frogs. They absorb water when the river floods and overflows, and they can absorb and clean a lot of different stuff that I feel like comes from the human portion of the environment. So I think of like dirt, I think of trash that might have like fallen out of your pocket while you're on a walk, or like that spilled out of your trash can. Oil from our cars when it snows, like it did this morning a little bit. Salt that gets put on sidewalks or on the roads. Fertilizer that goes into people's gardens, or other kind of like chemicals that might go out on the lawn. So all of that stuff like goes down through the storm drain or goes like down through our home kind of piping system. And then wetlands will help clean this water before it reaches other bodies of water. So I think about Fern Hill in this example. The Fern Hill wetland is some enhanced wetlands that are also used as a water treatment facility. So we take the power of wetlands to slow down and clean water, and we send water through those that comes from Washington County homes and stormwater. And so the water moves through that system and is slowly cleaned by those enhanced wetlands. And I highly recommend going and visiting that space. It's really cool to see humans and nature kind of working with each other's strengths to clean the water and enhance the Tualatin River. Wetlands are also a very wonderful place to walk, to fish, to bird watch, to canoe or kayak. So they offer a lot of like really, really beautiful benefits to us and non-human species. And then we take care of wetlands at Clean Water Services. There's a Natural Systems Enhancement and Stewardship Department, which I'm a part of. And this department plans and designs and builds enhancement projects to help make the river cleaner and healthier. And we try our very best to work with nature, like these wetlands, to be good stewards to our community and be good stewards to the river and all of the plants and animals and bugs and amphibians that use and live in and around the river, in addition to ourselves. Our department is made up of engineers, it's made up of wetland scientists, plant biologists. It's a big range of humans with varied interests. Daniel, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Okay, so I looked up some fun facts on wetlands, and I feel like this first one is a really great analogy. So wetlands have been referred to as Earth's kidneys. So I like that metaphor of like how deeply vital they are to like cleansing. So if you think about how, we might not need both of our kidneys, but we at least need one. That kidneys are really important for cleaning our own bodies, and wetlands are really important for cleaning and storing out on the landscape. And then an acre of wetland can store 1 to 1.5 million gallons of floodwater. The whole like visualization of that 1 to 1.5 million gallons of floodwater is hard for me, but I can imagine what an acre of wetland looks like. And it's not, it's not a whole lot of space. So a very small amount of space can store a lot of water. So they're really important in this wet season, especially when the river can get full and its size can fluctuate. Like the wetlands contain a lot of what, needs to expand out of the river. Up to half of all birds in North America nest and or feed in wetlands. So a lot of birds rely on wetlands for nesting or to like take a rest, find something to eat, find water to drink while they're in the midst of doing these long migrations. And then as a plant person, this last fact was one of my favorites. Wetlands account for 5% of the land within the United States, but they are home to 31% of our plant species. So there's a lot of plant diversity in wetlands. I have primarily worked in native plant nurseries, growing different plants, and have worked kind of doing seed collection and plant growing kind of for the forest understory. So wetland plants, I know some of them, but a lot of them are really new to me. And when I saw this fact, I was like, wow, there are so many new plants that I get to learn about through this job. Can you go to the next slide, please, Daniel? Perfect. So this is an aerial photo of where I work. This is the Tualatin River Farm. The river is kind of in the background over there beyond that lovely green field. And if you can see in front of those trucks, there are these like funny little rectangular shapes. So we make these things called wet beds that mimic wetlands. So there are these kind of like divots within where we plant and grow plants and store plants that are brought in for our planting projects. So there are these kind of like flooded spaces where all of the wetland grasses and sedges and rushes can live and still be submerged in water before they go out to get planted. So we definitely do some mimicking of the wetlands ourselves by storing these plants in these wet beds. And then I help manage the distribution of about 2 million plants a year. So these plants go out all across the county to clean water sites and then also to partners sites. And we partner with folks like the Tualatin Soil and Water Conservation District, the Wetlands Conservancy, Friends of Trees, Backyard Habitat, and many others to get all of these plants in the ground. And I wanted to invite all of you, if you're ever interested in coming out to visit, you are more than welcome. I'll drop my contact information in the chat. And we also do a native plant giveaway in October to residents of Washington County. So keep an eye out for that. You can come and bring some native plants to your home. Yeah, thank you.
And that's our presentation, but I really quickly wanted to extend, and we'll get more information, Virginia, to the group. But there will be a Friend of Trees event coming to your area where you could volunteer to plant trees. Sadie, do you have more information about that? Or I could get.
I can look it up. I've been to a couple of Friends of Trees events. So the day before, they come and pick up plants from us or another partner that they get plants from, and then they'll set up kind of where everything will be planted. There's coffee and tea and snacks the day of, and it's normally like 3 hours of planting, but it's a nice time to connect. It's definitely like really lovely, slow work, and you can work to whatever degree feels good. You can pop by for like 30 minutes or you can stay for the whole time.
Right. I was hoping for a little bit more specific information about our wetlands, and I'm sorry if that never got communicated, but I did want to share my screen very briefly. I need to, Dan, yeah, I'll go ahead and just.
Here, I'll stop sharing, Virginia.
There we go. This is the map from the Clean Water Services website that I dug up that shows how all of these neighborhoods, the drainage goes into this open space. You can see all these lines end up going into what we call Bower Oaks open space, which is, I've been calling it the Saltzman wetland. And that just gives people an example that this open space here is draining and cleaning the runoff from all of our neighborhoods. And that was part of what I wanted to communicate tonight. So anyway, there we go.
Thank you for sharing that picture. Yeah, I would definitely invite all of you to go to the Bower Oaks space and like see what you notice, maybe listen for the different bird calls, listen to like the sounds of like the cattails and the other like tall reeds, see all of the different animals and people that you can notice like exploring and enjoying the space.
There's a little bit of parking there on Southman, and there's a little trail, and a lot of people don't know that, but it's a nice little walk on almost any day. And like I was saying before, I've seen an egret that hangs out there, and if you're lucky, you may see that. You'll see ducks, you'll see nutria. I don't think there are beavers there, but there are certainly nutria.
Yes, yeah, they're all over.
And yes, it is owned and protected as a wetland by Clean Water Services. Okay, it is time for us to transition to our second topic tonight, and I know a lot of people are anxious to learn more about this, which is the Peter Court development. Thank you for coming, Jennifer, and thank you for sharing your Valentine's evening with us.
Yeah, sharing the
Do you
love.
have anybody else that's coming to be
No,
with you?
it's just me tonight. Everybody
Great.
else had scheduling conflicts, and so
Oh, that's
you
fine.
get-
I appreciate you.
you get stuck with me.
Yeah, that's fine. I attended the Beaverton neighborhood meeting when they presented, because this actually is in the city of Beaverton, but it's
Mhm.
very much part of Cedar Mill, and it's definitely part of CPO 1. So take it away.
Yeah, and you're gonna see the exact same presentation that you saw that night. As you can see here on the
Great, but
PowerPoint.
all of our neighbors will get a chance to see it tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, we still have the same header on here, so I apologize for not changing that for tonight.
Ah,
But
no
it
problem.
literally is the same presentation that the neighborhood association saw.
No problem.
So this is I'm Jennifer Rinkus. I'm with Basinger Partners Architecture. We're the architect of record for a couple of projects now at Peter Court Town Square, which is located at the corner of the southeast corner of Barnes and Cedar Hills. You guys are going to start seeing a lot of work happening out there. This building right here, the old former hardware store, we just got permits on for the interior remodel. Can everybody see my pointer too? I want to make sure before I get too far, because I did another presentation the other day and nobody could see my pointer.
Yes, it's tiny, but I can see it.
Okay, great. So the building down here, this north end of the former hardware store is, well, actually, let me back up a little bit. Sorry. We had a land use approval to slightly expand this building by, I think, 4,000 square feet. And Portland Rock Gym was going to go in there and take the southern half of it. And we did not have a tenant for the north half. Portland Rock Gym has now signed on to take the whole building, and we just got permits. Yeah, it's super exciting. And on the north end, they're going to take the building as is. And so they're going to start their interior rework on that here in a couple of weeks, because we just got permit on that. And then we're going to get them up and running in that northern half of the building. And then once they're open for business, we're going to come in and work on this southern half. We should also be getting permits very soon for the little pad building here that has Sunrise Bagel in it. We have a land use approval for that as well, to do an addition on the northwestern portion of it, to add a Starbucks with a drive-through. And so that work will also be starting in the next couple of months. Hopefully we'll get our permits. So there's lots of things happening. And this project tonight that I'm talking about is a third project that's going to happen. And we're breaking them all out because they're different tenants, different lease agreements, and different timetables that everybody wanted to get underway with their work. And so this is technically the third project, and the work area is shown in blue dashed line here. It is for remodel and renovation of the former Albertsons. Let me see here. So here is the existing site plan. And as everybody knows, there's the big giant 50,000 square foot anchor space there that was formerly Albertsons. It's been vacant for quite a while. This is the parking field today, with one-way aisles and angled parking, and only minimal landscaping, kind of sparsely spread out through the ends, and a couple little ones in between. The proposed site plan, we're going to come in and we're going to add another pedestrian pathway here up through the center with landscaping and some trees. We're going to add we're going to reorient all the parking to 90 degrees so that makes flow on site a little bit easier and better. Makes allows people to get around a little bit better and not get congested in those one-way aisles. We're gonna add some more landscape islands throughout the middle of the parking lot. We would like to have added some bigger finger islands in there, but the site is definitely challenged for parking. New regulations by the state that Beaverton has adopted, because this site is within proximity of a light rail line. There's technically no longer a minimum parking required by the state or by Beaverton, but as everybody knows, if you can't park, people don't shop at the spaces. And so tenants are still very aware of minimum parking levels that they need to be able to conduct business. And so we're maximizing the amount of landscaping we can get in and maintain good ratios for parking. And we actually gain some spaces by turning them to 90 degrees. And then adding the walkway too will help pedestrian mobility through the site. The building itself, we're going to demise into 2 spaces at this point. We don't have any confirmed tenants yet, but the owner is in negotiations with a potential grocery for one of the units. There is no signed actual, lease at this point. So things could change in the future, but they are very interested in trying to attract a grocer to this space. And then what we're going to do with the building itself, this line out here, and that may be the next slide. So this is the existing footprint of the building in blue. Excuse me. And the dashed cyan colored line represents both the existing building wall itself, and then out here there's the covered walkway and the colonnade. And so the portions in blue in cyan are going to be removed. The portion in blue are going to be retained. And I'll show you why in just a second. We are going to make some minor changes to some of the parking here that's shown in yellow, because we are going to need to expand this walkway a little bit over here. And in this southeast corner, we're going to be adding a new loading bay for the second tenant. So here's the new proposed floor plan. Like I mentioned here in the southeast corner, we're going to be adding space for a new loading berth and compactor for this new tenant A space. Tenant B will have access to these loading berths here, and these ones will actually be they'll have a single berth, and then the southernmost one will be shared between the two. To make sure that
that's the area we never see because we don't go around behind the building.
Nope, it is way behind the building, and there is a giant concrete wall back here too. So there's really no need to go back there.
And there's
it's not
freeway.
Really, yeah, freeway up above, and it's not really visible. This side of the building is not very visible. We're going to add a compactor here on the west-hand side too for this other second tenant space that we're creating. So a minute ago, I mentioned out here on this north facade wall, we're going to take this line here, this blue line, used to be, or currently is the line of the outermost columns for that covered walkway. And we're going to turn that into the new solid building wall in these 2 locations here where it's in cobalt. And then we're going to bring the building back. We're going to cut away some of the floor area, some of the square footage, and we're going to recess this area here to create a new outdoor plaza area here in red. And I'll show you in a second on the elevations, but it's going to be a 2-story. It's going to have a mezzanine in there. It will be open to the elements on the north side. This whole north wall will be open. There's going to be these new landscape planters here, but it is going to be covered. And the intent of this and the idea of it is to create a gathering space, for patrons of these new businesses and for the neighbors to come. They're trying not only to attract a potential new grocer, but also they want to get some food uses in here. And so the idea is that this new 2-story plaza area will be kind of a a gathering space for people using, purchasing food items, or if they happen to get an actual restaurant. So kind of a multi-purpose space for folks to gather and enjoy some of the new amenities. Again, this just illustrates on the top, the existing floor plan along with the existing elevation. You've got this covered walkway here, and we're going to get rid of the solid building wall that exists and make the new outer columns. That is going to become the new solid wall for the building, except in this area here that where we're going to punch the building back for the plaza. Here's a nice rendering. We are still working on the exact design of the food court area and plaza area. We do intend to have, generous landscaping within it. There's been lots of ideas thrown out what could be in there, some sort of outdoor fire pit feature, obviously lots of tables and seating areas. We're going to start in on the design of that in the next couple of weeks and really start narrowing down what we want it to look like. So this is the potential, this is the proposed at this point, schematic floor plan and schematic elevations. And you can see in this new center area, the mezzanine 2-story plaza area. We are going to maintain some, the existing brick on the shops on either side. They'll be painted to kind of match the new scheme of the work that we're doing. We're going to bring some new materials in that kind of that coordinate and are complementary to and also used on some of the other projects that I mentioned earlier, both the Rock Gym and the Starbucks building, so we can start to create a more, a new updated look for the center that's comprehensive throughout as we move through the various projects on the site. And that is the PowerPoint, but I do have, and hopefully they'll not be too glitchy. We'll see how well they play, but these are a couple of little short videos that show some of the new work as you move through the site. So this frame here, we are at the entrance across from Southwest Valeria Drive. The building here on the right-hand side was a new pad building that was approved with the land use for the Starbucks and drive-through addition. And here on the left is the Rock Gym building. And all of the colors made on this, I think we've done some updating. There's some new paint colors going to be on the Rock Gym that might not be reflected in this, but I'm going to take you in. Hopefully this will work. There's no sound. So the new Rock Gym there is on the left as you come up that drive aisle and turn towards that main building. And this is the new work that you just saw in those schematic elevations. The fire pit we think will be not quite an Olympic flame fire pit, but we're working on the exact design of it. A little flyover. That goes kind of quick. Let's see, and we've got one other one coming in from the main entry by the bank. So on the left is where the bank, coming up the main drive aisle from the light. And here's the new remodel that we were just talking about. We're maintaining the existing towers that are there today and working those into the design. This is the new pedestrian pathway that we're putting in from the bank building. And we're just showing sod in some of these landscape areas for now so that it didn't interfere with the visibility of the plaza behind it, but they will be landscaped. We're bringing on a landscape architect to put some pretty plants in there. And that's pretty much the gist of the project. We're still in schematic phase, though a lot of things are going to change a little bit as we get into more design development phase and start working on our land use application, which we hope to have in a couple of months and start the land use review. We're going to be a type 3 with the city, so there will be opportunity for public comment, and it'll go before the Planning Commission. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer
I was
them.
just going to say, go ahead and leave one of those slides up, because I'm
Sure.
personally pretty excited. I know a lot of people have been waiting a long time to see something happening in that center. And I
Yes.
think this is going to be a big community asset. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I was just going to say there's a lot of publicity recently about how bad the fossil fuel, commonly known as natural gas,
Mm.
is for the environment. So we might want to rethink the fire pit. I know the designers probably love plugging that into the video.
Well, it does. It makes the video a little more eye-catching. And in Portland, we have it's kind of a blessing, even though our winters are rainy, they're generally pretty mild, which allows for us, when you have a covered space, to really enjoy the outside space year round. But it does get a little chilly sometimes. And so people, we've talked to some folks that have done food courts and things like that. And that's one of the things that patrons kind of request, is like a fire pit area to hang out around. But there's tons of other options we can look at. They have electric heaters and all kinds of stuff. We'll definitely be conscious of
Right.
of the environmental impacts.
Thanks. I just had to get that in there. So somebody's asking about, yeah, Nathan wants the fire pit. Skylights over the food court, or are they open? I believe I think the only real open part is the front, and then everything else is going to be covered.
Yes, and let me see if I can get to a point in the video where it shows it better from the front here.
Yeah.
So yes, so these it is intended that these will be skylight. So they
Right,
will. It
glass,
will.
yeah.
Yes, we want to make it really bright and cheery, and a place that you want to be year round, but also a place that you don't want to freeze in the winter, and you
don't want to get wet.
You don't want to get wet. You don't want to cook in the summer either, but we do want to bring in the natural light. There probably won't be this many skylights once we start getting into the actual structural design of it. But the intent is to make it bright, but it will be covered.
That's a good question. Any plans for green roofs, solar roofs, recycled water from the roofs?
Oh, I'm sorry, you cut out there. Any plans for?
It's in the chat from Sheila.
Okay, let's see. Any plans for green roofs, solar roofs, recycled water from the roofs? Again, we are in the very basic beginning of the project. It's the schematic phase where we just kind of come up with the general idea and general size of it. And now we're going to move into design development phase. And that's where we start really getting into the details of the project and narrowing down, what amenities we want to have. And that's when we start bringing in.
Our neighbors would appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we'll definitely keep, we'll keep an open mind to all of that stuff. And we're bringing on, this is the phase where we bring on the consultants, we're our structural engineer, our landscape architects, our civil engineers. And those folks are going to help us weigh those options. And we'll definitely be talking about all of them. But at this point, there's no definitive plans really for anything.
Right. And the next question was about the west end of the building. And I know at the Beaverton meeting, somebody, I think it was Scott, was talking about that the entire center, once this gets underway, that there will be changes to the entire center on both sides.
So I'm going to switch back to, let's see if I can, there we go. So everybody could see that, right? The site plan here. Okay, so yeah, like I said, the owners are very committed to revitalizing this center. They want to bring life back to this center. And the hard part is when you have a lot of vacancies, not a lot of people are attracted to start looking as far as being a tenant. And so, we started with the Starbucks, with the drive-through, and with Portland Rock Gym. And now both of those, now that we've gotten approvals for those, people are really noticing that. As far, when I say people, I'm talking about potential tenants for some of the other vacancies. They're starting to notice the work that's happening here. and they're getting really excited about it. There's a lot of people that are really excited about the rock gym. And that's really what kind of drove the leasing talks with, regarding this building, and that drew tenant interest for this building. And yes, as far as I know, they're always looking at what could happen with these other spaces, these existing shop spaces to the east and west of the Albertsons. When, or if and when that.
Focusing on sports and outdoor activity retail would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they're in talks with lots of people all the time. I'm not a part of any of those conversations, so I can't speak to any of them. But I know that they are constantly fielding folks, potential tenants, and discussing potential plans with them. And there are, at some point it is likely that these shops areas will also have some work, but that's why we're doing these in kind of piecemeal bits and pieces, so that when we have confirmed interest in one, like with Starbucks, we can get that going and moving ahead. And then Rock Gym, they signed, and so we could get moving with them. And now we have interest in this building. And as soon as they get, somebody in line for any of these spaces for the vacancies, then I'm sure work will move forward with them as well.
Great. Someone's asking about the timeline. I know you can talk about the short term, but.
Yeah. And the schedule's been reworked a couple of times. Right now, like I mentioned, we're working on securing our consultants. We need to bring on board civil. We have civil from the other two projects. They're going to continue on, I believe. We're looking at potential landscape folks and structural folks. We're going to get all our consultants together, and we're starting on the design development and design review phase. So that's, like I mentioned, where we're going to start really honing in on the details, like with the plaza and what we want it to look like, and firming up the elevations. And we hope to get in for design review in the next couple months. And then, being a type 3 process, that will probably take another 2.5, 3 months to get through land use review. And then at that point we could turn permits, our CDs in, our construction drawings in for permit. So we're looking at construction probably on this starting end of the year, beginning of next year sometime.
How much of the design will happen after the tenants get signed?
Well, the exterior all will need to be done, and I don't know how leasing works, and I'm never a part of that. I'm just the land use planner, so I deal with design review submittal. So,
okay.
But in order for us to submit for design review, we need to have confirmed elevations, because that's what's approved is what needs to be built. Otherwise, we have to go back for modifications through land use, which is more money and more time. And so, if need be, we may take a little longer on the front end to finalize elevations, make sure that's what we want to go for. But when we have, once we get the tenant confirmed, elevations will go quickly.
Great. I'm not seeing any more questions. If anybody has any, I should really appreciate your coming along. I know this is one of the two front doors to Cedar Mill, really. And even though it got annexed into Beaverton, we still consider it Cedar Mill. And like I said, it's certainly CPO 1. And I know our neighbors have been very curious about it.
Yeah, no, happy to come and talk about it. We're at Basinger, we're all really excited for these projects. We've worked long and hard on this center. Lots of stuff that doesn't always get seen by the public as well. And so we're really excited that we've got permits for the permit for the Rock Gym, and work's going to start getting underway on some of these things. And I know I can understand why the neighborhood's interest in this. So happy to come and talk to you guys.
Great. Well, unless anyone has anything to say, and you can certainly all raise your hand, I think our work here is done. I was just going to quickly mention, I will, hopefully all you guys are signed up for the Cedar Mill News, and I will continue to report on this in there, as well as at CPO meetings. For March, we're looking at an update on Washington County recycling, and hopefully, Melissa, a big update on road projects. We did an article back, I think, November in Cedar Mill News about all the different road projects in the area, and we've asked Melissa and the Land Use and Transportation Department to come and give us an update on all that. We've got everything from a sidewalk on Filbert to a couple of big projects on Thompson, and several other projects, road projects that everyone is interested in. So we are hopefully going to have something about that, and recycling, and who knows what else. We did ask our state representative, Representative Reynolds, I'm sorry, Lisa Reynolds, if she can come and join us. We're not sure if she'll be able to come and join us in March or after that, but we're on it. And we're also extremely happy to get suggestions like Pete gave us about things that we should be paying attention to, because we can't be on top of everything. So thank you. And let their friends and neighbors know that this meeting is available on our YouTube channel. And with that, I'm going to say good evening. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thanks, Virginia.
Thank you.
Thanks, Virginia.